Hello guys, I'm Matteo from Perpetual Passion. Today I'm super excited to interview the true guardian angel of the Cartier heritage, Mr. Pierre Rainero. Welcome Pierre, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Matteo.
You are the Cartier Image, Style and Heritage Director. So you are in Cartier since 1984. So my first question is how the brand is similar and how it's different to the one you started with.
I think probably my feeling today is the identity of Cartier is the same. What changed is the dimension of a company. I think it's more that, I think.
Okay.
And one, I think, of challenges is to cultivate our own identity while effectively the company itself is expanding. But really, that's one of my role, I think, to project the existing identity into the present and the future, and to provide, I think, the same type of, let's say, creativity and style that Cartier is known for, you know, and to be as desirable as always. I think that's probably one of the missions. The key word in my title, in a way, is a style, because it's really at the center of first all my responsibilities, but also the reason why of my presence in the creative process. Because, you know, Cartier, in terms of creation, is a question of common culture shared by many different people. In fact, you know, there's no one person representative of Cartier creativity. Even, you know, at the time of Louis Cartier, at the very beginning of the 20th century, he was calling the designers, he was calling them the inventors. So even him, who is known as you know, the founder of the Cartier style, he recognized that the ideas and the creation were coming from the studio, and he was assuming that he was a guide, you know, for this this creation that corresponded to a permanent flow of ideas. And so of course he was responsible for a certain vision of what Cartier should be, and in fact he built the modern Cartier we know today. So my role in the creative process of today is to guide the part which consider the style. So what makes a Cartier object of today Cartier?
Okay.
And what is the Cartier style today, in which creative expression it should have, and in which direction we should go. Because you know, if we had one mission at Cartier, it would be to propose beautiful objects, whatever the object is, but specifically jewelry and watches, it's the majority of the objects we propose. And knowing that the very notion of beauty is something that evolves on a permanent basis. What we think is beautiful today was not necessary what, you know, people 1 generation ago or even 10 years ago thought it was beautiful. So that's one dimension. And there's another dimension, which is also the idea to create objects for the people of today. And this is very important because whenever we are in front of a new project, a new design, there's a question which is raised systematically: is this an object that could accompany the life of a contemporary people? You know, how the people of today will live with that object, you know, and this is essential. And this is also a tool, you know, to know how our creations can be relevant for today. And this is key. And in my work, those two elements are key in the way I You know, I work with the designers, I work with you know, the commercial people to integrate also some elements we kept, you know, from the clients and in the way they evolve themselves and things like that. So this is key to me, and this is the central responsibility I have. First, you know, the idea of using the skeleton is part of our creative expression in terms of style expression, again, because it corresponds to a philosophy. The idea of transparency in watches is something fundamental. You know, Cartier is at the origin of mystery clocks as early as 1912. And then we tried to miniaturize that in pocket watches already in the 20s and 30s, and then even in wristwatches more recently. And the skeleton movement is also a way of illustrating our preoccupation. First, transparency, as I mentioned, but second, also how something very technical can be beautiful. Because a skeleton at Cartier is not only the idea to get rid of a dial and to allow you know, to see the movement. No, we design specifically the movement to be seen. And in this Santos Dumont watch, we pushed the boundaries a bit further because effectively we used the shape of a plane as a fundamental part of a movement. But you will notice also the Roman numerals that are composing the bridge of the watch. We did also for other watches, so which is now an element of permanence in our skeletons for watches. So this, to answer your question, is really showing what is the philosophy behind the style of Cartier. You know, in fact, there are principles at the origin of each of the designs. First, I have to say that the Tank Normal is my favorite watch at Cartier because first, you know, it's you know, the achievement, you know, of a process going to more purity in shapes, because if you consider that the Santos is the first wristwatch ever designed to be worn on a wrist, and then you see the different steps, you know, because 1904 the Santos, 1906 you have a tonneau, which means barrel in English, 1912 you have the tortue, the turtle shape, and Tank designed in 1917 and in this specific shape. And this is it, by the way. And you can notice that the Tank fundamental elements are here, the two parallel lines, and in fact a square dial with two perpendicular elements of metal. And it gives a certain type of volume, which is, in French we say, is generous, meaning that it's not flat, it has a certain volume. It provides a certain idea of sensuality through its volume. And I think this model is a balance, a perfect balance between the square of a dial and the rectangular of an entire case. In fact, if you look at the Tank Française is in direct line with the Tank Normal, with the same idea, combining square and rectangular. And I think there's something very, very precious. Because this is interesting also because in that permanent process of looking for even more or purer shapes, each model which is created is valid per se. You know, the Santos is a wonderful watch, the tonneau is a wonderful watch, and this one is a wonderful watch. And I think that's also a distinctive point of Cartier. If we really propose a watch at a certain moment, we think it's a wonderful object.
So compared to the approach that you had with the Tank Chinoise, I think that this is more faithful to the first model. I really love the Tank Chinoise.
Yes,
The new model you introduced last year is it's a beautiful watch, but it's more rectangular than square.
Exactly.
Okay.
So to answer your question about the Tank Chinoise, Tank chinoise had different versions in its history, more square versions than rectangular, and effectively the inspiration came more from the rectangular shape. For this one, even if the size itself is not exactly the original size, but the proportions are kept more or less. But the treatment in terms of the metal, you know, the surfaces that are brushed and the edges that are maintained polished, I think brings something different. So yes, on your point, I think probably this one is more faithful to the original proportions of the model of designed in 1917, but the treatment makes it very now, I think, because that kind of combination of different treatments of a metal never existed before. The Tank American.
I really love it. I really love it. It's one of my favorite.
I think what we tried to do is to get back to the original proportions of a Tank American. Because with time, you know, and also with preoccupation, you know, or waterproofness, type of movement inside, the volume had through the years evolved a little bit. And we thought, yes, let's go back to, you know, to the perception of that pure curve, you know, as a profile, and try to make it as thin as possible as the first one was. And I think the work that has been done in terms of slight differences in terms of proportion is quite relevant, I think, for the eyes of today. And we are quite pleased with the final result, I have to say.
Yeah, really. And I see that you work a lot on the shape of the case back, that it's really important. Something that you could find in the CPCP collection.
Yes.
But now you can introduce a new American for all of us with this kind of shape.
Yes.
And thank you.
But we try to do that.
As I told you, I really love the Tank American, and the Sintre, of course.
And you know, that is also, Tank American is a good illustration of what Cartier is about, because not only there's this work about shapes, but there's this work also about comfort. And you know, when a size is about that big, because it's a big watch, we have the obligation, I would say, at Cartier to make it curved, because it has to fit the wrist as well as possible. And this is a permanent preoccupation, because also behind that, behind the idea of comfort for the person who actually wears the watch, there is the notion of elegance, because the more the object fits well your body, the better it conveys, you know, that idea of elegance. An object which is not forced on your body, but it's worn with, let's say, in an easy way, you know, when with no effort.
Sprezzatura.
Sprezzatura, magari, lo possiamo dire così. Well, now it's not professional, it's totally personal.
If you have to choose one.
I would choose the Tank normal.
Wow.
And I would hesitate between the platinum bracelet or the regular gold one on the leather strap. Frankly, I have hesitations. Probably it's the idea that we don't think in terms of specific lifestyle. We concentrate on the idea of proposing beautiful shapes, you know, and that's a way, by the way, of being faithful to who we are, because it has always been the case, you know, and it has another consequence also, that good design has no gender. You know, when we created the Tank, it was sold indifferently to men and women. Even the Benoit, by the way, could be bought by men at the time it was launched in the 50s and 60s. As we know it, because there was an ancestor to that Benoit shape already in the beginning of the 20th century. So we figure Ballon Bleu, for instance. Ballon Bleu is indifferently also worn by men and women. And this is I think why, probably as a result, because we concentrate on our work, you know, on the beauty of the object, but as a consequence, we don't project one specific lifestyle with those objects, and that's a key point to be an object of desire for so many people, which common, I think, taste for well, a beautiful object. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. Yes, because of course, when you think about the date of origin of some of our designs that are, you know, featured on Instagram by the youngest generations, yes, it can be surprising, but also it's not such a paradox because I think in their interest, I can see the recognition of something specific, something original, something distinctive. And I think among younger generation, there is, you know, a value attached to that.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that the Cartier is not, you know, let's say, doing efforts to be different just to please some part of the population. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think that is particularly valued by younger generations, I think.
And I think that now we have a desire to express a statement. And when you wear a Cartier watch, you want to communicate, to share a statement that maybe you have taste. It's not for others, okay? Because I'm very happy to see a Cartier on my wrist, but express a kind of style, a kind of statement. And it's something that the youngest generation want to show, because now we have all of us have the similar iPhone, maybe the similar pair of jeans, and a shape, a different shape of Cartier on your wrist express a kind of personal choice.
I think we are touching here a subject which is eternal. I think the need for distinction, but also the need to have a feeling that you belong to a group of people, you know, and it's, I say it's eternal because, in fact, even believing that you're doing your own statement, in fact, unconsciously, you have an image of someone doing the same kind of statement. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to really say that I am different because I do this or I do that, because unconsciously, again, we all have images of other people, and also consciously, effectively, you want to be different sometimes from other type of people. So it's a very, let's say, complex psychological behavior, and that's why I say when clients or people ask me, you know, advices about what they should buy or whatsoever, I say trust yourself, you know, and be yourself, and trust your taste, even if, by the way, again, your taste is probably influenced by other parameters, but anyway, you will be more happy if you follow your own road and your own taste. Yes, I have a personal Cartier collection. Difficult to find one. I have one I like a lot, I think, which is a tank watch from the mid-80s, which is extra thin, with the exact same size as the first tank Louis Cartier watches of the beginning of the 20s, meaning very small for a man, by current standards, but not for me.
Not for us.
Not for me. I love it. And it has been offered to me for my 40th birthday. So I'm particularly attached to that tank watch.
Wow, thank you for sharing. And thank you for your time.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you.